Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back to the DIY Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and because we are all looking forward, thinking about what 2025 holds, I thought it would be appropriate to do an episode on the future of home buying, because that's really what I'm all about here. I envision a brighter and better future for home buyers, and I believe that that future is upon us, and I couldn't be more excited for it. And when you think about the last 20 years, it's really hard to fully appreciate the way that technology has changed our lives, right? Like here we are in 2025. The iPhone hadn't even been invented 20 years ago, right? 2005, it would have been 20 years ago. And I don't think the iPhone came out until 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. And just trying to think back to like a time before an iPhone, a time before Google Maps, it's really hard to imagine what life was like. I was talking over the holidays with my grandma about using maps and actually having to, like, even just the days of MapQuest, having to print out a map in order to navigate somewhere. And now it's like I have a Tesla that drives itself. Like I just plug in the address on the touch screen and the car takes me exactly where I want to go. We are living in wild times, but as a real estate professional myself, somebody who has helped people buy and sell homes for a number of years, been on both sides of close to 100 transactions now, it's crazy to me how archaic real estate as an industry has been and remained. And it's an industry that is incredibly resistant to change. And in some ways, that can be a really good thing. In some ways, rapid change also can lead to rapid issues. But in other ways, the resistance to change actually hurts consumers. And especially when it comes to how real estate is transacted with real estate agents and title companies and all of the different people that are involved in the transactions and the fees that are all part of that. It makes it so that real estate is very inefficient and very expensive to transact. And I believe that in the future, all of that is going to change a ton. And I've compared the changes that I anticipate to the changes that we saw in the travel industry about 20 years ago, frankly, because in the 80s, 90s, and even really until the early 2000s, if you were to book a family vacation, more than likely you would be using a travel agent, travel agency, telling them what it was that you were wanting to do. And you were really dependent upon them to put together your entire itinerary and find you the best possible deal. And you're kind of at their mercy as to like what different resorts or airlines or packages you could have. But thanks to Expedia and Travelocity and Kayak and so many others, now all of a sudden, everybody pretty much has become very comfortable with researching different travel destinations, comparing prices, and booking their own travel. And I believe that that same sort of transformation is happening in real estate, and it's happening fast. Now, in early 2024, and it started even well before then, but the real estate industry underwent like this seismic shift through the Stitzer Burnett settlement lawsuit, more commonly known as the NAR lawsuit or settlement. And this case changed how consumers think about buyer's agency, or at least that was the goal. It was supposed to make it so that sellers feel like, okay, paying a buyer's agent is optional. And it was supposed to make it so that home buyers would feel like, okay, having a buyer's agent is optional. And to really get people thinking about how much real estate agents are paid relative to the value that they provide in a transaction. And the goal was, if consumers are thinking about it more, have more power to negotiate, well, that competition that is created will hopefully drive down real estate commissions. And it's still to be determined as to whether or not real estate commissions are going to come down. I've talked about in other episodes how realtors are incredibly shrewd in the way that they've been working around the new rules that were created by the settlement against the National Association of Realtors. But here's what I find most fascinating. The legal changes that happened this past year are not what I believe are driving the self representation or the DIY homebuyer revolution, as I like to call it. I think it's simply accelerating what was already happening in the background. Because just like in other industries, technology and information accessibility have been quietly laying the groundwork for years. I mean, you think about the access to information that we have today compared to 20 years ago, right? Like, turn back the clock to the late 90s, well before Zillow was a thing, the early 2000s, even. Like, if you wanted to know what homes were for sale in your area, you really did need a real estate agent that had access to the MLS, and they would like print out and bring over to you all of the listings that were available, or maybe using some sort of rudimentary like email online system. But today, I mean, you pull up detailed listings complete with professional photos and 3D tours, price histories, and you can do all of that just from your phone while sitting on the couch. And it goes beyond just listings. Like, today's home buyers have access to detailed neighborhood data and crime statistics. You've got school ratings and reviews. You can see property tax histories. You've got an incredible wealth of mortgage calculators and access to different lending options. You can see market trends and analysis and so much more. Almost anything that you want to find out about the housing market nationally or locally is accessible to you through platforms even like this, whether that's YouTube or Spotify or wherever it is that you find yourself consuming what I'm creating here. There are so many other creators that are making educational content to make you a more informed consumer than there ever were 20 years ago, which means that the information that was once gate kept by professionals is now at everyone's fingertips. And guess what? People are getting really good at using it. Like, when you think about the average real estate agent and their age, most of them are in their 50s or older. And I imagine that most of my listeners who are in kind of their like 30s, early 40s, you're probably better at technology and better at using the online tools. You can probably get better data than most real estate agents can, just because you know how to access all of the resources and tools available to you online. Now, let's talk about money, because that's often where the rubber meets the road of change. So, on an $800,000 home purchase, a traditional buyer agent commission would be somewhere between 2 and 3%, which equates to like $16,000 to $24,000. And that's a significant amount of money. Like, think about all the things you could do with 24 grand. That's a kitchen remodel or a really nice vacation or just a massive chunk of savings that would otherwise be going to a buyer's agent. And I know all of the arguments of that, well, the seller pays the buyer's agent. And you can hear my other podcast episodes and content about how that's really such a farce. Like, yeah, the seller may be willing to offer some credit or a concession to compensate the buyer's agent, but really they're factoring that into what you're paying for the home. And if you don't have a buyer's agent, the reality is you are reducing transaction fees by 2 to 3%. And you as a home buyer are able to leverage that either to make your offer more competitive than people who do have an agent without having to spend an extra dollar, or by being able to save yourself significant money. But the benefits of DIY home buying go way beyond just financial benefits. When you represent yourself, you have direct communication with sellers and their agents. You get to move at your own pace, and you maintain complete control over negotiations while also having flexibility to structure deals in a way that works for you. This is huge because, again, as a DIY home buyer, you're not dependent upon somebody else. When you're dependent upon a buyer's agent, you don't really know what's being said in private phone conversations or behind closed doors between your agent and the other agent. You don't know what your agent might be giving away about your position. And you really can't fully trust their motivations because a buyer's agent only gets paid when you actually move forward and purchase a home. So they're incentivized for you to move quickly and to close on a sale. And the more money that you spend on a home, the more they make. And I'm not trying to say that all buyer's agents are greedy and terrible people, but I am pointing out the fact that the incentive structure is inherently misaligned. And that's just something that naturally creates distrust, right? Like you just have to expect that a buyer's agent is going to want to be compensated for their time and work. And the quicker you buy a home and the more you spend, the sooner they're compensated and the more they make. So, by removing that whole element and learning how to protect your best interests yourself, well, then you can really trust that nobody is rushing you into the wrong home or pushing you to spend more than you ought to on a home. Now, I hear the objection a lot. I can know what you're thinking of that. Buying a home is complicated, though, right, Nick? Like, shouldn't I have an expert guiding me through this? And honestly, yeah, buying a home is a complicated process, but so are a lot of things in life, like filing your taxes or planning a wedding or investing in stocks. These are not easy things, and yet millions of people figure out how to handle them themselves every single day. And the key to successful home buying without a buyer's agent is having the right resources and support, which is exactly why I'm building the DIY homebuyer community and academy, because I want for you to have the sort of step by step guides and courses that you need to fully understand what goes into the home buying process. It's so important to have online community for support so that you're able to talk with other DIY homebuyers who are going through the process in real time and be able to give advice or get feedback wherever you're at in the process yourself. It's also really helpful building out templates for offers and contracts to help you understand what these legal documents are. There's on demand consultation with real estate professionals, whether that be attorneys or inspectors or lenders, and people to just be able to get feedback from of, hey, am I on the right track? What do I need to watch out for? And then, of course, I'm building out digital tools for market analysis and platforms that just streamline the entire home buying process so that you can wrap your head around the transaction and feel like, okay, I'm not missing anything. I know what boxes are checked. I know what things I still need to do. I've got this. And the beauty of this approach is that you can learn at your own pace. You can get help exactly where you need it. And it empowers you to be the one that is fully in control. And I really believe that an educated consumer is the best consumer, and that we are better people when we take responsibility for ourselves and for our decisions. And I believe that as a home buyer, you will have a far more satisfying experience when you are truly the one in the driver's seat throughout every step of the process. So, what does the future of home buying look like? Well, here's how I imagine it. So, you get financially prepared. You go through, if you're financing the home, the pre-approval process, you shop different lenders, you make a smart decision on who it is that you're going to work with because of the service that they provide, as well as they give you the most competitive rates and the lowest fees. And once you've got your financial ducks in a row, then you just start looking on your phone, your iPad, your computer at different properties, different areas, researching different neighborhoods and communities, narrowing it down to the areas and homes that are best for you. And then you start searching those homes. And when you find one that you like, you find the listing agent's contact information directly there on the listing, whether that's through Zillow or Redfin or whatever platform you like. You call the listing agent directly. You let them know that you're interested in the home, that you're pre approved with such and such local lender, that you are representing yourself, but that you have been learning and educating yourself on the home buying process so that you understand how the process works, what it means to be self represented. And then you schedule a tour with the listing agent. You meet them the next day, go through the home. They answer any questions that they can, treating you like a customer. You recognize that their duties are to the seller. They're trying to get the seller the best possible deal for the house, and yet they're answering all of your questions with honesty and integrity about the condition of the home. You gather any information from the agent in terms of whether it's seller disclosures or HOA information, anything specific to that house that you might want or need. Then you go back, and if you love the house, you do a deeper dive, looking at comparative properties that have recently sold, looking at what's happening in the market. Is it a seller's market, a buyer's market? Looking at what's going on in the surrounding community, what kind of development is happening, what other economic factors are at play. All of this you're being guided through with DIY home buyer tools and platforms until you're finally at a place where you say, okay, this is a home that I feel great about, that I want to move forward, putting an offer in on. I know what fair market value is. I know what I want to offer. And then you're able to reach back out to the listing agent and say, all right, I'm prepared to put an offer on this house. And the listing agent can either walk you through that, where you tell them, hey, here's the standard forms. This is what I want to fill out. These are the contingencies that I want in place. These are the different timelines and terms. You spell all of that out for the listing agent to then present to the seller. The seller accepts your offer. You upload everything into the DIY homebuyer platform so that you have all contact information, all timelines, all checklists related to all of your different contingencies located in one spot that keeps you entirely organized. You know who to contact about escrow and title and where your earnest money needs to go and in what kind of timeline. You've got connections with different inspectors, and you know what timelines need to happen for the various inspections that you need to have, and when those contingencies expire, and how to respond to the seller with different requests for repairs or credits. You've got a place to upload your title report and any financing documents so that it's really just a one-stop shop where everything is organized, everything can be made sense of. You're able to reach out to me or other real estate professionals to decode anything that you really have questions about. But the entire time, you're the one in control navigating that escrow process with the backstop of technology that's keeping you from missing any significant deadlines or important details about the transaction. And then finally, you get to the closing table, and it's as exciting as ever because, yes, you're buying a home, but you're also saving 2 to 3% by not having a buyer's agent because you've done it all yourself. And so you get the reward of, not only did you enjoy a more empowered experience where you had greater control and greater knowledge of the home than you would have had you have outsourced all of that process to somebody else, but you also reap the financial benefits at closing as well, leaving $20,000 richer than somebody who had hired a buyer's agent themselves. So, the future of home buying, as I see it, is all about choice and empowerment. It's about having the freedom to handle as much or as little of the home buying process as you want, while having professional support available to you as you need it. Just like we no longer are dependent upon travel agents to book flights or stockbrokers to buy shares, the traditional model of buying a home is evolving. And the DIY homebuyer revolution, it's not about replacing real estate professionals, but it's about changing how we use their expertise. So, if you're thinking about buying a home now or in the future, here's the thing I want you to remember. You have more power and capability than ever before. There has never been a better time in history to learn how to navigate the home buying process yourself, to be the one responsible for looking out for your own best interests. And I believe beyond belief that this is where the future of home buying is headed. And so I want to say, yes, you are more than capable, more than competent. And I want to create the educational resources to give you full confidence in your capability to represent yourself, to save tens of thousands of dollars, and to enjoy a better home buying experience. That is what I and the DIY homebuyer community and academy are all about. And if that's something that you can get on board with, well, then I would love for you to be part of that community. You can join over at our school group. That's skool.com/DIY homebuyer. You'll find the full fundamentals course, be able to connect with other DIY homebuyers, share your journey as well as glean from their experiences, connect with me there. So that's the number one place for you to go. Short of that, though, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel, to this show, to leave a review, to leave a comment, give me some sort of feedback. And the very best thing that you can do is that if you found something in here that was like, that resonates, I'm excited about that. If you could share it with somebody else who's also thinking about buying a home, that helps us realize this future of better home buying that I'm envisioning sooner and faster. I can't do this without you, and I'm here doing it for you because I'm so committed to this better future and just excited for what 2025 and beyond bring with changes to the real estate industry, reducing transaction costs, helping, even if just by a fraction, make housing more affordable, therefore more attainable to more people, and just having greater empowerment of the consumer and hopefully more equity throughout the entire real estate industry and system. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. Would love to connect with you further. Join that school group. Link is in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.